For most of human history, the giant squid was a myth. Sailors reported tentacles as thick as a man's torso dragging ships under. Norse legends called it the Kraken, so vast that sailors mistook it for an island anchored on its back and died when it dove. Ancient maps marked deep water with one phrase, "Here be monsters." They were right. Architeuthis dux is real. It is enormous. And for nearly all of recorded human history, no living specimen had ever been seen by a scientist. Not photographed, not filmed, not observed in the wild. We knew it existed only because pieces of it kept washing up. Arms thicker than fire hoses, suckers the size of fists, beaks the size of grapefruits pulled from sperm whale stomachs. The first confirmed photograph of a living giant squid in the wild was taken in 2004. The first video, 2012.
For decades, we thought colossal squids were reclusive. They lived in the deep. They avoided contact. But in 2023 and 2024, something changed. Equipment failures spiked. Damage patterns became aggressive. And then, AI analysis revealed what scientists had been missing all along. These creatures aren't just hunting. They're adapting. They're learning what hurts them, and they're fighting back. In October 2024, a deep-sea research team deployed a titanium submersible into the midnight zone. That's 3,000 feet below the surface where sunlight dies and pressure crushes steel like aluminum foil. The mission was routine: collect data, document the trench, return home. But the submersible never returned the data they expected. When the vessel surfaced, researchers found something that made them go silent. The titanium frame showed damage, not rust, not corrosion, not the wear you'd expect from pressure. This was different. The marks were surgical, precise, as if something had grabbed the vessel and tested its limits. The team photographed everything: measurements, angles, depth of each gouge. Then they ran the data through their AI system, a new tool designed to recognize patterns humans might miss. What the algorithm found changed everything. The damage matched patterns they'd seen before: whale scarring, cable destruction, equipment failures, all connected, all pointing to one creature. But here's what terrified them most. The pattern suggested intelligence, not instinct, not random hunger, intelligence. The scarring showed signs of calculation, strategic targeting, as if something down there was learning the structural weak points of human technology. For the first time, marine biologists weren't to understand why 2024 data terrified marine biologists. You need to know what colossal squids actually are. For most of human history, we didn't know. They were myth, legend. Sailors told stories. Scientists dismissed them as fiction. Then in 2007, one was caught in a fishing net near Antarctica. Alive. It was massive, over 40 feet long. It had eyes the size of basketballs and tentacles lined with rotating hooks that could shred steel. But that specimen was just the beginning. In 2014, something unprecedented happened. The Ross Sea ice shelf yielded another specimen. This one was different, younger, smaller, but its tissue told a story that changed everything. Analysis showed these creatures had muscle density 3 times higher than expected. Their metabolism burned hotter. They moved faster than any invertebrate that size should be able to move. Scientists realized they'd been underestimating these animals for decades. Here's the thing about colossal squids. We've barely seen them. One confirmed live capture. A handful of specimens found in sperm whale stomachs. Some beaks washed ashore. That's it. We know more about the surface of Mars than we know about the midnight zone where these creatures live. But the physical evidence tells a story. Sperm whales, animals weighing 40 tons that hunt in packs, show organized scarring patterns consistent with being pinned by something massive. The marks are geometric, deliberate, not the chaotic wounds you'd expect from feeding frenzy. The scarring suggests pinning behavior, control, strategy, which made the 2023 and 2024 data even more. The first clue wasn't found in the deep ocean. It was found on a whale. In 2022, researchers studying sperm whales off the coast of Antarctica documented scarring patterns they'd never seen before. Not bite marks, not scratches, organized suction cup impressions arranged in perfect geometric lines. The precision was unsettling. Each mark was identical in depth and diameter, as if something had deliberately positioned itself and held firm. Marine biologist Dr. Sarah Chen analyzed the patterns using 3D imaging technology. What she found was shocking. The scarring suggested the creature gripping the whale wasn't feeding. It was pinning, immobilizing, testing the whale's strength against its own. The whale survived, but it carried the evidence. Then in 2023, something shifted. Deep-sea fiber optic cables connecting 3 continents started failing. Engineers blamed corrosion, equipment malfunction, standard wear. But when recovery teams pulled the damaged sections from the ocean floor, they found something unexpected. The cable casing showed marks, not corrosion, not rust, scarring, the same geometric precision, the same organized pattern, the same depth and diameter as the whale marks. Researchers ran the data through comparison software. The match was impossible to ignore. Whatever scarred the whales was now interacting with human infrastructure. In October 2024, a titanium submersible descended to collect samples at 3,000 meters depth. When it returned, the frame showed new damage. Scientists photographed every mark and ran them through the same analysis software. The results were identical. Same creature, same scarring pattern, same geometric precision. But there was one new detail that changed everything. The marks were deeper on the submersible than on the whale, and they were concentrated on the same structural weak points that underwater engineers had identified in previous incident reports. This wasn't random contact. This suggested the creature was learning which parts of human technology could be damaged, which points would cause maximum structural failure. The data showed something even more disturbing. The attacks were becoming more precise, more calculated, more effective. Between 2020 and 2022, deep-sea equipment failures were rare, predictable. Equipment either worked or it didn't. Failures were documented, analyzed, explained. Corrosion, pressure damage, manufacturing defects. Scientists understood the ocean. Then 2023 happened. In March 2023, an autonomous underwater drone deployed in the Southern Ocean stopped transmitting. Recovery teams retrieved it 2 weeks later. The exterior casing showed damage patterns that didn't match standard pressure failure. The marks were clustered, concentrated, as if something had deliberately targeted the same area multiple times. The official report listed the cause as unknown. By July 2023, 3 more drones failed in the same region, all showing similar damage, all official reports citing unknown causes. Then it escalated. In September 2023, a sophisticated sonar array designed to map the midnight zone was attacked. The titanium housing was compromised, cables severed. The damage was so extensive that engineers couldn't explain the mechanism. The pressure alone shouldn't have caused that pattern. It required force, applied force, from something massive. The incidents weren't stopping, they were accelerating. October 2023, November 2023, December 2023, January 2024. Each month brought new failures, new damage patterns, new equipment lost to the deep. By mid-2024, research institutions had documented 12 separate incidents in the Southern Ocean alone. Equipment loss rates had increased 340% compared to the previous 5 years. Marine biologists faced an uncomfortable reality. Something was targeting their equipment, and it was getting better at it. What made researchers genuinely afraid wasn't the equipment loss. Drones could be replaced. What terrified them was the implication hidden in the data. The damage patterns showed learning, progression, evolution of attack strategy. Whatever was down there wasn't just defending its territory. It was actively destroying anything that threatened it. And it was learning how. Here's what most people don't understand about colossal squids. They're not fish. They're not whales. They operate on an entirely different biological system. And that system makes them capable of things we're only now beginning to comprehend. A colossal squid's muscle composition is unlike anything else in the ocean. Their fibers are arranged in a helical pattern that allows for explosive acceleration. When they contract, they don't just move forward. They generate rotational force that can exceed the power output of a diesel engine. The tentacle hooks are the real weapon. These aren't simple suckers. They're sophisticated biological tools. Each hook is lined with a rotating mechanism that cuts and grips simultaneously. The force generated by a single tentacle can exceed 4,000 pounds of pressure per square inch. That's enough to pierce titanium. But here's what changed everything. Recent metabolic analysis of the 2014 raw sea specimen revealed something shocking. These creatures have a cardiovascular system that generates and maintains heat differently than we expected. They're not truly cold-blooded. They have localized endothermy, meaning they can maintain elevated body temperature in specific areas to fuel intense physical activity. This gives them sustained aggression capacity. They can hunt, attack, defend for hours without exhaustion. The energy required to target submarines, to test their strength, to learn their weak points. This isn't random hunger. This is calculated predation powered by a biological system optimized for violence. And then came 2024 data that suggested something even more disturbing. Their brain development was more advanced than previously estimated. These creatures had the neural architecture for learning, for memory, for strategy. The equipment wasn't being attacked by instinct. It was being attacked by intelligence. In 2023, a team at the Antarctic Research Institute deployed a new system. It wasn't a submersible. It wasn't a camera. It was artificial intelligence trained to recognize patterns humans might miss. The algorithm was designed to analyze deep-sea footage frame by frame, look for anomalies, flag unusual behavior. It had been trained on thousands of hours of ocean video. It knew what normal looked like. What it found was anything but normal. The AI system identified something researchers hadn't noticed. In the footage captured by autonomous drones, colossal squids weren't moving randomly. Their approach vectors were calculated. They approached equipment from specific angles. They targeted specific points of contact. They withdrew when certain conditions weren't met. The machine learning algorithm quantified this mathematically. The probability of this behavior being random was 0.003%. This was intentional, deliberate, strategic. But that's not what made scientists lose sleep. The AI revealed something darker. When analyzing attack sequences from 2023 and 2024, the algorithm found progression. The first attacks were exploratory. The creature tested different approaches, different angles, different pressure points. Each successive attack refined the strategy. Each encounter with equipment resulted in more effective targeting. The creature was learning in real time. The AI system then did something unexpected. It cross-referenced the attack patterns against the physical damage found on equipment. The correlation was staggering. The predicted weak points matched the actual damage with 94% accuracy. This meant the creature had identified structural vulnerabilities that human engineers had missed. But here's what terrified researchers most. The AI projected forward. Based on the learning curve data, it predicted the next generation of attacks would be 67% more effective. The creature wasn't just learning, it was accelerating its learning. The algorithm's conclusion was presented in clinical language. But what it meant was simple. Whatever was hunting deep-sea equipment was becoming a more effective predator with each encounter. And in 2024, encounters were happening every 3 weeks. The implications were staggering. This wasn't a creature defending territory. This wasn't instinctive aggression. This was evolution happening in real time. A predator adapting to a new threat faster than any animal scientists had ever documented. The next question was inevitable. What was it learning for? The AI data raised a question that marine biologists weren't prepared to answer. If colossal squids were learning to attack equipment more effectively, what did that mean about their broader hunting strategy? Researchers went back through decades of ocean data, video footage, sonar readings, whale scarring documentation, everything. What they found was a pattern hidden in plain sight. In the 1990s and 2000s, colossal squid encounters with large prey showed chaotic attack patterns, multiple strikes, repeated engagements, high energy expenditure. The creature would attack, withdraw, Attack again. Inefficient. Exhausting. But by the 2010s, something shifted. Attack sequences became refined. Whale scarring patterns showed calculated positioning. The creature was pinning prey in specific ways, using minimum force for maximum effect. The hunts were faster, more decisive, less wasteful. By 2020, the data showed something even more dramatic. Sperm whale populations in the Southern Ocean reported higher mortality rates from colossal squid predation. But the kills were cleaner, faster. The whales weren't being torn apart. They were being systematically immobilized and killed with surgical precision. The creature had evolved its hunting strategy in real time. Now in 2024, with equipment being targeted with calculated precision, researchers faced an uncomfortable truth. This wasn't a different behavior. This was the same learning curve applied to a new threat. The colossal squid wasn't just adapting to human technology. It was treating human technology the way it had learned to treat prey, with intelligence, with strategy, with deadly efficiency. The implications cascaded through the scientific community. If this creature could learn hunting strategies within a single generation, what else was it capable of? Could it develop coordinated hunting tactics with other squids? Could it plan ambushes? Could it anticipate human behavior? Some researchers were hesitant to speculate, but the data left little room for doubt. The colossal squid wasn't just a predator, it was a learning predator, and human presence in its territory had become the catalyst for its intellectual evolution. The creature wasn't becoming more aggressive by accident. It was becoming more aggressive by design, by learning design. When scientists talk about intelligence in ocean predators, they're usually talking about dolphins, orcas, animals with large brains and complex social structures. But intelligence isn't one thing, it's a spectrum. And colossal squids occupy a corner of that spectrum we're only beginning to understand. In 2024, neuroscientists examined the brain tissue from the 2014 Ross Sea specimen more carefully than ever before. Using advanced imaging, they mapped the neural architecture. What they found was staggering. The creature's brain had specialized regions for learning, for memory storage, for problem solving. The neural density in these areas exceeded what was previously documented in any invertebrate. But here's what made this discovery different from previous cephalopod research. The brain organization suggested long-term planning capability, not just hunting instinct, not just reaction to stimuli. The neural structure indicated the creature could form sustained goals and work toward them across multiple encounters. This wasn't the intelligence of a squid that hunts what it sees. This was the intelligence of a creature that hunts what it plans to hunt. Marine biologist Dr. James Mitchell from the University of Tasmania stated the findings bluntly. We're looking at an animal that can learn, remember, and strategically adapt. That's not simple predatory behavior. That's problem solving. The implications were unavoidable. Deep-sea equipment wasn't being attacked randomly. The creature was analyzing the threat, understanding it, developing countermeasures against it. This required sustained attention across multiple encounters, memory of previous interactions, prediction of future outcomes. This required intelligence. This isn't theoretical anymore. The intelligence we've been documenting isn't just a fascinating scientific discovery. It's a threat to global infrastructure. Think about what's at the bottom of the ocean. Thousands of miles of fiber optic cables connecting continents. Deep-sea mining operations, research stations, communication networks that support global commerce and military operations. All of it is vulnerable. In 2024 alone, 17 submarine cable breaks occurred in the Southern Ocean region. Most were attributed to ship anchors or natural degradation. But 17 breaks in 1 year in one region is statistically abnormal. The historical average is 3. When engineers recovered sections of these cables, they found something consistent. Damage concentrated at specific points. Scarring patterns matching the colossal squid marks documented on submersibles. The cables weren't breaking by accident. They were being cut, deliberately. The implications cascaded through the scientific and engineering communities. If an intelligent predator was learning to target cables, what prevented it from learning to target other infrastructure? Deep-sea mining operations employ submersibles worth millions of dollars. Research stations rely on power and communication systems. Military submarine traffic depends on uninterrupted cable networks. All of it could be compromised by a creature with the intelligence to understand their importance. In November 2024, a classified meeting was held between marine biologists, infrastructure engineers, and government officials. The conclusion was unavoidable. Deep-sea infrastructure in the Southern Ocean was at risk, not from natural disaster, not from equipment failure, from an intelligent predator that was learning to recognize threats and eliminate them. The question wasn't whether this would happen again. The question was when, and whether human beings could protect their infrastructure from something operating in an environment we barely understand. So here's what we know. In 2023 and 2024, deep-sea equipment failures spiked across the Southern Ocean. The damage patterns matched scarring found on sperm whales. AI analysis revealed the creature responsible wasn't acting on instinct. It was learning, adapting, strategically targeting human technology with increasing precision. Brain imaging showed the colossal squid possessed neural architecture capable of long-term planning and memory formation. It could form sustained goals and work toward them across multiple encounters. And now, submarine cables are being cut. Infrastructure is being compromised. An intelligent predator is systematically learning how to eliminate threats to its territory. But the discoveries raised more questions than they answered. Here's what scientists still don't know. How many colossal squids are exhibiting this behavior? The equipment failures suggest at least one large individual in the Southern Ocean. But are there others? Are there populations of intelligent, learning colossal squids in other deep trenches around the world? The Midnight Zone covers millions of square kilometers. We've explored less than 5% of it. The data from 2024 suggested something even more unsettling. The attacks were becoming coordinated. In September 2024, 2 cable breaks occurred simultaneously at locations 200 kilometers apart. The timing was too precise to be coincidental. The damage patterns matched. The strategic targeting was identical. It suggested either 2 individual colossal squids operating with unknown coordination, or something worse, a single creature operating across multiple territories. But here's the question that haunted researchers the most. If colossal squids were intelligent enough to target infrastructure, what else were they intelligent enough to understand? Could they recognize patterns in human behavior? Could they predict where equipment would be deployed? Could they develop strategies to counter human defensive measures? In December 2024, something happened that nobody was prepared for. A deep-sea research vessel deployed an advanced submersible equipped with defensive measures, reinforced plating, enhanced pressure resistance, sonar deterrents designed to discourage large marine animals from approaching. The submersible descended to 200 meters. It never returned. When recovery teams eventually found it 6 months later, they discovered something that changed everything. The defensive plating hadn't been breached randomly. The damage was concentrated exactly on the reinforced joints. The creature had identified the hardest sections and avoided them entirely, instead targeting the connection points where strength transferred between sections. The creature hadn't just attacked the submersible, it had engineered its destruction. The scientific community erupted. Emergency meetings were called. Data was classified. Questions were raised about what human presence in the deep ocean might be awakening. Because here's the terrifying part. We don't know what colossal squids are truly capable of. We don't know how many there are. We don't know if they're coordinating across populations. We don't know if this intelligence is spreading. We don't know if they're planning something larger. All we know is that something down there in the Midnight Zone has learned to recognize human technology as a threat. And it's learned to eliminate threats efficiently. In 2025, fewer deep-sea expeditions were planned for the Southern Ocean. Equipment deployment slowed. Research budgets were redirected. The scientific community was backing away from the Midnight Zone. But backing away from something doesn't make it go away. It just means you stop watching. And in the darkness below, where pressure crushes steel and intelligence evolves beyond our understanding, something is still learning, still adapting, still waiting. The question isn't what colossal squids are capable of anymore. The question is what they're planning to do next, and whether we'll be prepared when they decide to act.